I'm going to put together some cottage cheese pizza bowls. And I got this idea from watching KJ York's video when she did a whipped cottage cheese pizza bowl. And she credited the idea to having seen it all over the internet, social media and whatnot. And I traced down where that idea seemed to come from, and I'm going to put a link in the description box to give credit to where I think credit is due. But anyway, I'm not going to whip the cottage cheese to do my pizza bowl, cottage cheese pizza bowl, because I don't want to take that step, and I don't mind it if it is lumpy. And from all the videos that I saw as I was chasing down what I think is the originator of this cottage cheese craze, I didn't see many people whipping their cottage cheese. But if cottage cheese, you don't like the texture of it, then you whip it. You can use an immersion wand to whip your cottage cheese. I'm putting up a graphic so you can see the difference between cottage cheese when it's whipped and cottage cheese when it's not whipped. And I have the side-by-side pictures up there. I did a Facebook post on that, so I had the picture that I could pull from the past and put it up here in the video. So I'm going to be using 2 tubs of cottage cheese, one for each of us, for my husband and for me, because I'm going for high protein. These are the 2 brands, and I'm glad I have 2 different brands, because these are my 2 favorite brands of cottage cheese. Nancy's Probiotic Low-Fat Cottage Cheese, or Good Culture Low-Fat Cottage Cheese. I'll put up an image for both cottage cheeses so you can see the nutrition ingredients and a close-up of the picture of each one of both the Nancy's. Now this comes in low-fat cottage cheese, 2%. It also comes in whole milk cottage cheese, but I always prefer to buy the 2% because I would rather pull the fat off from my body than put the fat in my mouth. And to me, the taste is equally as good with 2% or the whole milk. Same for the Good Culture 2% cottage cheese. Okay, so and it's called a cottage cheese pizza bowl, but I want to save my bowls for making salad, because in addition to having enjoying the pizza part of the meal, I want to increase our nutrients in our meal. So what I did was I pulled out a couple of my baking dishes, personal casserole baking dishes, and measured how much this would hold versus how much this would hold. And this actually holds a little bit more. So this is going to be my cottage cheese pizza bowl container. So cottage cheese pizza box. I'll set these aside and use them for making the salad. So I'm going to start by putting cottage cheese in each of these containers. And then everything is going to get put into it and mixed up a little bit. So take the lid off from both of these, and I can also then show you the difference in the 2 versions. All right, so this is the Good Culture low-fat cottage cheese, and I'll bring it up so you can see it. It's a nice thick cottage cheese. And this is the Nancy's Probiotic. They're both cultured cheeses. Good Culture gives away the name that it's cultured. Nancy's Probiotic gives away the fact that it's a cultured cottage cheese. And this seems a little thicker to me than the Good Culture. So you might prefer this if you want a really thick cottage cheese to the Good Culture. So to be fair to Steve, I'm going to give him some of each one. We'll put some in here, 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 some in here. Okay, so I think I've evenly divided up the Good Culture brand. Oh, and background noise, yes, you're going to hear that. Steve is upstairs working on some remodeling stuff. So some there. Oh, and I know how I can even out and make sure that we each have our fair share of cottage cheese, because I'll pull out my scale, and that way I won't shortchange either one of us on the protein, because protein is very important. I will put a link in the description box about some protein education resources. Oh, my light just went out. All right. This is my scale, and I had another one, but I chose this one after I got frustrated trying to see the readout when I was putting various sized dishes on top of this, my scale to weigh. And the reason I like this OXO one is because I can pull out the display away from it. This particular dish will fit on it nicely, but let's turn it on. Okay, it's on and measuring in ounces. It's also easy to change the measurements on this one. Okay, 13.5. 2 pounds, 13.5 ounces. 3 pounds, 10 ounces. All right, we obviously have to even this out. So that's now 2 pounds, 15.9 ounces. Let's fuss with it until we get it even. 2 pounds, 14.6. 2 pounds, 15.1. Take the spoon out so we don't weigh that. 2 pounds, 15.4. Oh, I'm really being picky now. 2 pounds, 15.3. 2 pounds, 15.3. Okay, even Steven here. And turn this off. There, okay. All right, so both of my dishes are prepped with the cottage cheese. And now for the pizza stuff. I am going to put on some sauce. I'm using a sauce that I got from Aldi. I've already opened it and used it for something else, so this is a good time for me to use more of it up. This is an organic tomato basil pasta sauce, and I like all the ingredients in it. I like that it doesn't have any added sugar to it. I like that it doesn't have any added fat to it. It's just the ingredients to make a tasty sauce. So I'm gonna put some of that on here. And I saw a lot of these pizza bowl videos, and you do not have to be precise in what you're putting on. You have freedom to make it as simple or as complicated as you want. I'm going to just spread this around. I might be putting on some more. Yes, it looks like I will put on some more for the flavor of the sauce. Okay. So I'm just guessing. That's how I do a lot of my cooking. What looks good, seems good. Sort of like an Amelia Bedelia cook. A bit of this, pinch of that, dab of that. All right, so I have covered my base with sauce. Now, I decided I wanted plenty of texture in the pizza bowl. I could just use cheese. I could heat this up and just put some cheese on top, sauce, cheese, spices. Oh, that's what I almost forgot. All right, now I have my spices. Okay, you could use as many or as few as you want. I will link KJ's whipped cottage cheese pizza bowl in her video. I will link to that in the description box so you can see, how she made it. I think it's very instructive to watch another cook. I want to use fennel seed because I find that adds a really nice Italian flavor to things. So I'm just going to sprinkle on a little fennel seed here. It's also healthy for you. You get a lot of nutrition from your spices. Okay, it's going to be very fennel-y. Hopefully I didn't go over the top, which I can tend to do. This is garlic powder. Sprinkle across top of that. Garlic powder. All right, and then I'm going to sprinkle on some onion powder. I would like to use fresh onion, but I only have one left, and I'm saving that for something else. So we'll just use onion powder with this one. Okay. Don't know if that's enough, but it'll have to do. This is some homemade dried basil that my stepmother-in-law gave me. I'm going to sprinkle some of this on. And then the next thing I'll sprinkle on is dried oregano. Just the classic, Italian type of seasonings will do. And you could just use an Italian seasoning mix. You don't have to do individual spices. I just happen to have individual spices that I'm using. Whoops, one more. Gotta do this one too. Okay, and then so I put all of this on: fennel, onion powder, garlic powder, oregano, and basil. So I'm going to pause a minute and clean up my mess because I like to clean up as I go. All right, I said that you could do whatever you wanted to make your creation taste good to you. And so I'm going for obviously the classic pizza taste, and adding on pepperoni would make sense. I'm going to not add a lot because of the fat. I want to pull fat from my body instead of add fat to my food. So I'm just going to be mindful of how much I use. But the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some other meat flavors to this by using some ground beef that I seasoned as an Italian flavored meat. I noticed a couple of these are doubled up, so let's do this. You know what? It will be prettier and more effective if I save these pepperoni pieces for the top. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, now I know how many I'm going to use on here. If I didn't care about the fat, I would use a whole lot more. But let's just set these aside so I know I'm going to top the casseroles with these for the visual effect. And we'll call that good. So I cooked up some ground beef and seasoned it with Italian seasonings and some fennel. So there's more fennel in this deal. and more protein. Oh, I should have mentioned that each container of cottage cheese that we are consuming there's 14 grams per serving. Each container has 4 servings to it. And so that means 10, 20, 30, 40. 4 times 12 is, 4 times the 4 is 16. So, yeah, there's 4 servings. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 56 grams of protein for each container of cottage cheese. So just, if I didn't put any extra protein with this, per person this would be 56 grams of protein. One of these, if I were being more reasonable, could serve 2 people, but I'm serving this per person. Oh, and just for reference, this was a whole pound of ground beef. So there's going to be a half pound of ground beef per person on here. For texture, I decided to add in some sun-dried tomatoes. That'll give some nice chew to it. This is not a whole package of sun-dried tomatoes, and I believe I got these at Walmart. But this will add some great nutrition and some great texture. Okay. I'm going to add enough cheese so it's satisfying, but not so much that I've increased the fat a whole lot. This package is supposed to be 6 servings. Let's see how much I add. Because I can add cheesy flavor also by using Parmesan cheese, which is a way to use cheese without using a lot of fat, because Parmesan cheese is one of the low-fat cheeses. I'm going to save it till last, though, to go on top of the pepperoni. All right, so it says a 1/4 cup is a serving. That's about a 1/3 cup here. Am I going to need that much? Yeah, I think I will. Okay. So there's that. And about the same amount on this one. Spread it around. And now put the pepperoni on. A nice visual look of it all. And press it. Well, it's pretty overflowing. Now let's sprinkle on some Parmesan cheese. I'll do my mess on, no, I'm not doing it on top of the mat. The mat's dirty. Just do it on the counter and clean up. Okay, you can hear Steve working upstairs. This is going to go in the oven next. And then I will show you what it looks like when it comes out. All right, this is ready to go in the oven. All right, that's in the oven, and I'll keep an eye on it. I suspect it's going to take probably half an hour to get, or more, to get nice and hot and bubbly. And if it gets too brown looking, I will tent it with some aluminum foil to keep it from over browning, but still I want it nice and hot and bubbly. I've been working in a salad while the pizza casserole, cottage cheese pizza casserole, is baking. And I'm making a very big salad because this is one of my ways to help myself in the kitchen by not just making what we need, but making extra. Cook once, eat twice. This salad will serve us for lunch, and this means that I have our Sunday lunch when we get home from church prepped as well. So this is important to me that I use my time well. I put in this red cabbage to add some nice color to the salad, but it's also very nutritious. All the colors that you can add to your food is not just adding visual attractiveness to your food, but it's colors in food are an indication of nutrition. I was talking to my Marco Polo group ladies and saying something about, bright and vibrant colors being a nutritious sign, and then I remembered, Skittles are bright and vibrant in color too, but that doesn't mean they're nutritious. So, it's not a law, but it's a general rule. I just rinsed this off in the sink, and then I thought, I probably ought to share this because this is one of my favorite most helpful kitchen tools. I actually did the cucumber on it, and I did the red cabbage on it. So I use this, sorry about the sound of the water, I use this all the time. It is OXO, and it's a hand mandolin. I'll put a link for it in the description box. All right, here is my giant salad, and I'm gonna plate our salads in here. This salad has romaine lettuce that I cut up ahead of time, and that was in the fridge in a bag, so I dumped that into the bowl. I cut up in fine little pieces 2 yellow sweet peppers, and I dumped in a jar of sprouts that I'd made myself, but grocery store sprouts will work just as well. They're very nutritious. And then a whole kind of large cucumber. I mandolin sliced that up, and that's stirred into here, and then the red cabbage. So those are the things in our salad. And now I'm gonna plate up a couple bowls, and I will top them with some of the grape tomatoes that I slice in half. If I were in a hurry, I would just put them on whole, but some of them are a little on the wrinkly side, and I can hide that by cutting them in half, and then they'll look a little better. So we're gonna have a nice, generous portion of salad. I will link in the description box information about a study that showed that people that eat a salad every day have younger brain cognition functions. I was about to put the rest of the salad in a bag with a paper towel to extend its life a little bit, but I realized I need salads prepped for after church tomorrow. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that too at the same time. And that may take care of most of our salad. It might just give one little portion that I can box up and put in the fridge and label with salad. Yep, that's what it's going to give me. One more salad for somebody else as a leftover. Maybe when I'm not home some meal time, Steve will get it out and have it for himself. Okay, I'm going to rinse off my hands. So now I'll put this in a box for the fridge and just label it with salad, and I think I will just dump some grape tomatoes in there. I usually label the things that I put in the fridge so that nobody has to guess what it is. And also, I find that these masking tape labels move easily from container to container. So if I start with a large container and half of it gets eaten, I could downsize to a more reasonable sized container, and I can move the label from the large container to the smaller container. Okay, this is ready for the fridge. I'll show you what I mean about our fridge. So, you know, we've got some leftover rice and some cooked spinach and some cooked chicken. And I labeled that so that Steve would know if he has the late night munchies, don't eat that. That's Sunday lunch. And there's the box of salad labeled. Here they are, nice and hot. They were bubbly when I took them out, and I'm letting them rest and cool a little bit before I serve. Oh, it took about 45 minutes to get hot and bubbly all the way through. All right, so I'm just cutting up the tomatoes, and I'll put those, sprinkle those evenly across the top of the salads, and I'm much closer to serving. The casseroles are done, and we're gonna have the salad, and I also put on jars of celery sticks that I had put up before. I cut up my celery and put it into jars in water, and that keeps it fresh longer for cooking with or for eating as a veggie starter at the beginning of a meal. And I always drink the water too, so I get the benefit of the celery water. And then I will show a picture of the whole set table once it's all done. I will be using a fuel pull salad dressing, another way to pull back on fats in my diet. Steve likes a blue cheese dressing, but I have some fuel pull salad dressings made up in the refrigerator. And I can share a link to a sheet that I made. Husband's on the phone with somebody. I can share a link to a sheet that I made, a Google sheet, that links to all kinds of recipes, including salad dressings that are fuel pull. And that will be in the description box of this video. That Google sheet is something that I made up a while back for the ladies in the Marco Polo group that I hang out in. And we wanted a resource sheet where we could find recipes to start our meals with, thinking about, okay, a fuel pull where it's low in fat and low in carbs, but then we can add to it if we want. We can add something with fat, or we can add something with carbs. It gives us freedom to go either way. And so all kinds of public-facing recipes are available, linked on that, through that Google sheet. And hopefully that will be helpful if someone decides to use it. So I'm going to sprinkle on the tomatoes, and then the salads will be ready to serve. I'll cover 2 of them in saran wrap and just keep them in the fridge for when the next meal rolls around. But these are ready to go on. 2 of them will be going on our table for our big meal of the day. All right, this is looking good. And there you have it. Our cottage cheese bowl, pizza bowl meal is served. And in the description box, you will find links to all kinds of resources, all of the things that I've mentioned I would share with you.